I think bring this discussion to a close now, but before we do, I would like to ask you something about the influence of all this, because Plato must be either the most influential or one of the 2 or 3 most influential philosophers there have ever been. Can you say a little, if only briefly, about what the main lines of this influence have been?
I think it's important to remember there were 2 philosophies opposed to materialism in the ancient world. There was materialism in the form of the atomic doctrine held by Democritus and Epicurus, and there were the anti-materialist philosophers, Plato and Aristotle, both of whom are opposed to the suggestion that everything, life, order, mind, civilization, art, nature, can all be explained as the outcome of the movements of particles of matter, subject just to the laws of motion and their own nature. Now, Aristotelianism is opposed to that sort of materialism, but Aristotelianism carries the war so far into the enemy camp that it's actually very hard to reconcile the Aristotelian philosophy with the modern scientific enterprise, which has a lot about atoms and the movements of particles of matter and all that sort of stuff. And indeed, I think it was no accident that when the modern scientific enterprise got going, it got going by throwing away the Aristotelianism, which had so dominated the Middle Ages. But Platonism is much easier to reconcile with the modern scientific enterprise, and that's why I think, since the Renaissance really, Platonism has lived on after the death of Aristotelianism, because that's a philosophy which you can use or be influenced by if you're seeking to show how scientific and spiritual values can be reconciled, if you want to do justice to the complexities of things where materialism is giving just too simple and simplistic a story.
And there's something very contemporary to us, isn't there, about the fact that Plato's cosmology and Plato's science is based on an essentially mathematical physics.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Professor Burnyeat.